Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatapatikamadam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Satrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shantarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Namane Shri Varshavanavi Devi Daitaya Kripatyaya Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhurya Ujjvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karana Shakti Vigrahaya Namaste Namaste Gauravani Srimatai Dinatarini Rupanuga Virupa Bhaktisiddhanta Danta Harine Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is actually the Samadhi of Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, who left this world I think the 31st of December in the year 1936. So he left the body actually in Calcutta, in the temple at Barabazar, and then he was brought here and placed in Samadhi here. Brought came in the train to Mayapur. Place in Samadhi. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was born in the family of great Vaishnava. His seminal father was none other than Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was born as Bhima Prasad. He was like the fourth child of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur had a big family, about 11 children. And The youngest one was Lalita Prasad. And Prabhupada met him. He was alive and Protestant. I even had the opportunity. There was one of the brothers. What happened? There was a devotee from Los Angeles, Jai Satchidananda Prabhu. He came to Calcutta and he went and he found this one of the sons, surviving sons of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. And he brought him to the temple in Calcutta to meet Prabhupada. And I remember he came to the temple and we met him. Anyway, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he was the fourth son. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, of course, trained all of his children to be devotees. So, from his childhood, he had learned, memorized all the slokas of Bhagavad Gita. And he could preach, he could explain them also. He went on to study at Calcutta University, and he wrote his Surya Siddhanta treatise on astrology, and they offered him the chair to become the professor. But he didn't want to do that. He didn't want academic study. What he did do was he came out to Mayapur. And it was in Mayapur where he took a vow to chant the holy name many hundreds of thousands or millions of times. It took him many years to execute that vow. And at that time, Mayapur was like the jungle. There was no Chaitanya Mat yet. Even the Yoga Pit was much smaller premises than it is as you see it today. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, of course, he had discovered the Yoga Pit and he had put the initial structure there. So for some time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was staying there and taking care of it on behalf of his father. And it was here in Mayapur, he was doing his chanting. This took many years. Sometimes he'd just sit under an umbrella. You know, Prabhupada said umbrellas are very useful things in India. Protect you from the sun, protect you from the rain, and protect you from the dogs. So he would sit on something, just sit under an umbrella and sit and chant, because there was no other shelter. So Mayapur was just like a jungle. He was living, but he was living here. And he was doing his great vow, and somehow one of his early disciples, maybe very first disciple, he'd actually come out to Mayapur and he'd met him and he encouraged him to take up preaching and to come into Calcutta and to do preaching work. And it was in 1922 that our own Srila Prabhupada, at that time our Prabhupada was 26. He was born 1896, so 1922 he was 26 years old. He was a married man with young children. And his friend took him to see this sadhu. He said, there's a really good sadhu come to Calcutta, a really great sadhu. But our Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada said, oh, I've had enough of these holy men. I know these sadhus. I know what they're like. I'm not interested. I'm not so eager to meet. But his friend said, no, this one is different. You have to come. You have to come and meet him. He's really, really good. So somehow he was dragged. He was, brought there to come to Uttadanga, where we have our ISKCON center there today, Uttadanga, and Bhaktisiddhanta, Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was there, and he preaching. And as soon as our Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada walked in the door, immediately said to him, "You're a nice young man, you're a nice young man. Why don't you preach the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the world?" And Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada was a follower of Gandhi at that time. Because at that time India was still a British colony. And Gandhi was working for the liberation of India. He wanted independence of India. So Prabhupada described to us, he said, I was wearing my khadi, all nice khadi cloth. You know, now we used to get khadi in India. It's very difficult to get. It's actually very nice, much better than all this synthetic cloth which you get today in the market. But the khadi is really good. There's some khadi bhavans around, and if you go to a khadi bhavan, you can get khadi dhotis, khadi kurtas, and they're really good. They're really cooling and comfortable to wear. So Srila Prabhupada said he was a follower of Gandhi, and he was wearing his khadi. And he said, he replied when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said to him, "Why don't you preach the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Our country is not free yet. We have to get independence, then we can preach." But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would not stand for it. "No, you are wrong. You don't know. The message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so important, it cannot wait for some political adjustment. You have to preach now." Just like I remember Tamal Krishna Maharaj was supposed to go to China. He said, "Prabhupada, can't go to China, it's communist, it's not open." Prabhupada said, "You have to go, doesn't matter, you go anyway." And he said, "Even if you can't go, you send the books there, the books will do the work. The books will create the field of preaching, just like in Russia, because Russia was also communist, it was the Soviet Union, and it was not so open, but Prabhupada went there anyway, even just for a few days, and he planted the seeds there in Russia. And that's how it all happened. It began in Russia, that one devotee, and then another devotee, and then others came, and they were preaching, and they were getting books, and books were going in all kinds of methods, and somehow people were becoming devotees. So the message of Lord Chaitanya is so important. You cannot wait for some political adjustment. And this was taught to us by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. He did not compromise in preaching the message of Krishna consciousness. I was just reading, somebody sent something on the internet to me about he would say that if somebody is worshipping the deity and they're just putting the deity there to collect money, he said it's better they go and become a sweeper in the street. A common sweeper in the street is better than the person who is worshipping a deity just to collect money. He did not want that. He did not want that you just simply put a deity there and have people come and give you money. That was bogus. That is cheating. Let them get a job and go and sweep the streets. Better. That's honest. But to put a deity there and just have people come and give you money, that is outrageous. That is cheating. So he was really powerful, really outspoken in preaching. He was really Nrsimha Guru. People would run in fear from him. And he was very erudite, very scholarly. Even professors would come from England and America, and when they met him, they were just amazed at how erudite and how scholarly he was, how much he knew about everything. Just like our own Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada. He would sometimes talk to the devotees and he would ask them, "Oh, you're from England?" He would say, "Did you study Shakespeare? You know William Shakespeare, you know, famous playwright?" Prabhupada said, "I studied him." And Prabhupada, he knew all the themes of all the dramas and all the other Western devotees. "Oh, you never heard this before," you know. And Prabhupada was explaining it to them. So, education in the past was much better than it is today. That's the point. And people, Bhaktisiddhanta, Saraswati Prabhupada, he was trained by his own father to speak different languages. Of course, he could speak native Bengali, and he grew up he was born in Orissa. His birthplace is there, in Jagannath Puri, Prabhupada's offering, Vyas Puja offering, where he wrote a poem. Adore ye all the holy day when he appeared in Puri, the holy place, our Lord and Master, His divine grace. So Prabhupada wrote a beautiful poem like this, glorifying his spiritual master. And when you go to Jagannath Puri, you can see the place where Bhaktivinoda Thakur was staying. It used to be a house there, now it's a temple, Gaudiya temple. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was staying there with his family because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was initially the head officer in charge of the Jagannath Puri temple. He was a magistrate in Puri and he was overseeing the affairs of the temple. And it's right on the road between the main temple and the Gundicha temple. So the Jagannath chariot would come right past their house. So it happened that when the Rath Yatra came, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's wife brought the child out. Actually, when we're in the Yoga Peeth, if you go to the back of the Yoga Peeth, you can see the Gaur Gadadhar deities there. Those are the deities of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's wife. Her name was Bhagavati, and she worshipped those Gaur Gadadhar deities. So when the Jagannath chariot came out and it came past the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the family came out with an offering. It's customary, just like when we have the elephant procession. Families will come out and make offerings to the deities. So when the Jagannath chariot comes, people will come and make offerings to the deities. They take the opportunity to bring an offering. And another thing they'll do is, if they have a newborn child, they will pass the child up onto the chariot and they will place the child at the feet of the deity to get blessings. So it happened that she passed this Bhimo Prasad, who became Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. She passed him up onto the chariot, and when he was placed under the deity of Lord Jagannath, garland fell off onto the child. So they understood, oh, very auspicious, very nice. Already from his birth, there had been some auspicious signs. One of the auspicious signs which happened that when he was born, the umbilical cord from his mother was round his neck like a Brahmana thread. And so these were some indications that this child could become very good devotee. There's some great potential, great, very auspicious signs. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was training all of his children for preaching. He had his children simply for that purpose, There was no other purpose in having children but to make them preachers and to help to distribute the Krishna conscious mission all over the world. So, thinking like this, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur trained his children in the Shastras to speak languages, different languages, so that they could preach Krishna consciousness everywhere. So, Vishnupad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was like that. He was so fortunate, he had that birth to be born in a Vaishnava family. Very, very special. Of course, sometimes we see people who are Vaishnavas and they have children, and the children grow up. Are your children devotees, Prabhu? No. One man even told me, he said, you know, it's the most difficult thing to get your children to bring them into Krishna consciousness. Even you put them in the Gurukulam and you give them the best possible devotee association, every opportunity, but to get them to be convinced about Krishna consciousness, it's very difficult. But still, there's hope. Prabhupada said, one moon is better than millions of stars. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he was like that moon. He was the moon. Because he took up the real mission of his father. At one point, there was a challenge came. The smarter Brahmins were challenging Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur that this business, what you're preaching, that anybody can become a Brahmana and that the birth is not important. We don't approve that. This is not right. We say you must have the birth in the Brahmana family to be a Brahmana. You get the birth in the Brahmana family by pious activities in the previous life. They would argue like that. And it's not, the birth is what's important. If you don't take birth in a Brahmana family, then you cannot become a Brahmana. They would argue like that, and they had a big debate. But Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur was not in good health, and he was feeling some illness, old age. He told Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, you go, you represent me. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he went there, and he preached. And in the beginning, he started off glorifying the Brahmanas. Oh, the Brahmanas, they're so dear to Lord Krishna. And the Brahmanas, whatever food they take, you know, it's the nectar of Lord Krishna. It's all prasadam for the Brahmanas. And he was just glorifying the Brahmanas like anything. And the Brahmanas, smarter Brahmanas are all, and then he just turned the whole thing around. Then he went on and spoke about what is actually a Brahmana and who is actually a Brahmana. That it's nothing to do with birth. That it is based on guna and karma. And he quoted so many shastras about who is actually a Brahmana. And even one who's born in a family of dog-eaters. Right? Famous verse in the 3rd canto, Devahuti speaking. What is it? No, that's it. There's one before that. Nam tam nama deha shravananu kirtanat yat smaranat yat smaranat yat smaranat apit. That's what Jopi said, Shravanaya Kaupate Kvanapanas Tvam Bhagavan Darshana. Like that. My Sanskrit's terrible. My renunciation is better than my pronunciation. So, anyway, Queen Kunti is saying that even if you're born in the family of dog eaters, you can perform the Vedic sacrifice because you chanted the holy. Anybody who chants the holy name even one time, or who offers obeisances, or who hears the glories of the Lord, they're immediately qualified, even though they may be born in the family of dog eaters. They can become qualified to perform a Vedic sacrifice just by once chanting of the holy name. Like that. There are many other verses like that. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati quoted all of these different verses and completely defeated these smarter Brahmanas. And everyone agreed that what he has said is absolute truth. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was a very strict follower of the principles of renunciation as taught by Srila Rupa Goswami. He would dress, sometimes you see pictures of him, and he has a big overcoat on. Now traditionally, sannyasis would just wear 3 pieces of cloth, no sewn cloth, no kirtars. But Bhaktisiddhanta said he would wear kirta, and he'd wear a nice overcoat, and he would even wear shoes, leather shoes. And he would go to meet very important members of the British government who were administrating over Bengal at the time, and he was able to bring them out here to Mayapur. And by bringing them out here, he was able to show them proof and everything that this is actually the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that was very important work, because as I said, this was the jungle. There was no roads, there was hardly any, but still he brought these British people to come out from Calcutta to this jungle here to see the holy place of Mayapur, and he convinced them that this is actually the place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was very much according to Shastra. He would ride in cars. Sannyasis were supposed to walk barefooted, as well as wearing 3 pieces of cloth. But he would go in a car, because he said, I'm going to preach to these people. He said, they have to be able to accept me. Just like Prabhupada came to Hong Kong. Now, when Prabhupada came to Hong Kong, Bharijan Prabhu was the temple president at that time, and he'd been cultivating some wealthy Indian people. One family actually ran the Holiday Inn Hotel. There was a Hindu family there, they were called Hari Lila, and they owned the Holiday Inn Hotel in Hong Kong. So Bharijan was preaching to them, and he was doing classes for the children there, and he got them to give their Rolls Royce to go and pick up Prabhupada from the airport in Hong Kong, and they also gave Prabhupada a penthouse suite in the Holiday Inn. So Bharijan Prabhu invited the reporters to come and meet Prabhupada. And they said, Swamiji, you're Swamiji, you came in the Rolls Royce, you're staying in the penthouse suite in Holiday Inn. Is this the life of the Swamiji? Prabhupada said to them, if I was to sit under a tree and ride a bicycle, would you come to meet me? Of course, if Prabhupada stayed under a tree and rode a bike, nobody would be interested. Prabhupada said, I've accepted these things just simply to attract you. Another time when Prabhupada was challenged like this, he said, actually, the spiritual master is the representative of the Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord rides on an aerial mansion You should have a mansion bedecked with all jewels and everything. He said, but anyway, whatever you've offered, I kindly accepted. Prabhupada's, our Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and our Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, they were very similar. They preached very boldly, very strongly. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada actually said, he said, everything I learned from my Guru Maharaj, I'd already learned from my own father. Madanga, worshipping deities, everything like that. I'd already learned it, but one thing I learned from my Guru Maharaj, printing books. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he had a printing press, and he would print a daily newspaper. He was printing a daily newspaper, and people would come to say to him, how is it you can be printing a daily newspaper? And he would say, listen, how many papers are there in Calcutta already? They said, well, there's 4, maybe 5 newspapers published every day. He said, I am printing the news of the spiritual world. You have 4 papers with the news of Calcutta. I am printing the news of the spiritual world. The spiritual world is 3/4 of the whole material creation. It's 3 times as big as the whole material creation. Material creation just 1/4. I am printing about the spiritual world. He said, I could be printing a newspaper every second, but there are no customers. So he understood the importance in that particular time of printing books, and he coined the phrase the Brihad Midanga. Because the Midanga can be heard a few blocks away, but the printing press can be heard all over the world. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur even was printing books and sending them to America. In the same year Prabhupada was born, 1896, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent books to America, to Canada, McGill University. Devotees went there in Canada, they found the books in the university, they found the books Bhaktivinoda Thakur had sent. They're still there in the library. So they understood the importance that get these books out. They give the example, they just, how did communism, Prabhupada gave the example, how did communism come to India? The Russians didn't come to preach communism to India. How did Indian people take up communism? For a long time, Bengal was a communist state. And even Kerala was also, it may even still be, I don't know. But there was a couple of states, Kerala and Bengal, they both became communist. How did it come to India that people became communist? Prabhupada said, Russians didn't come to do it, they sent the books. They sent the books about Marxism and Stalin and like that. And people read the books and they thought, this is good, Marx said this is good. So Prabhupada said, you print the books, very important, distribute books. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada liked very much to see books and to see articles printed. And anybody sent an article, he would simply look at the article, how many times did they say Krishna? Oh, okay, very good, print it. Just so long as the word Krishna was there, very good. Just like sometimes they put newspaper articles about our Hare Krishna movement, and they would put negative things, they'd say negative things. But Prabhupada said, anyway, he said, they're saying Hare Krishna. They're saying Hare Krishna bad, Hare Krishna this, but they're saying Hare Krishna, that's the main thing. Let people hear the holy name. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he utilized that principle to preach Krishna consciousness very boldly, book distribution, and he would come to temples. He would visit, you know, he had I think it was 64 temples established around India, and he would come to the temple and he would see how much money they've got. And they're doing well, they've got a lot of money. He would immediately organize diorama exhibition, get some artists to come here, make a diorama exhibition, we'll put on a big program. And the devotee said, oh Guru Maharaj, you're spending all the money, there'll be no money left. He said, very good, right? I spend all the money, you have to go out and preach. He didn't want them to accumulate money. And when they would go even for Sankirtan, if some of them would go, sometimes some of them would go, and they'd just come back with big money. They'd just go to the very rich men with big money. He was not happy. This is not good. This is not Sankirtan. You must go to everyone. And they would go, they'd come back with some vegetables, some rice, like that. You know, this is Sankirtan, very nice. Yeah, you're going everywhere. Whatever people can contribute, let them contribute. Don't just only go for the big money. That's not necessary. That was his mood in preaching Krishna consciousness. Sankirtan. If somebody could distribute even one newspaper and collect 1 rupee, he would be very pleased with them. You have done very well, very nicely. You have distributed 1 newspaper, you collected 1 rupee. Very good. So he liked so much for the devotees to do Sankirtan, to go out and preach. He didn't want them to sit around the temples. He said, these temples, our own Prabhupada taught us, he said, these temples are bases for the army to go out and fight Maya. They're not places for eating and sleeping. We're meant to go everywhere and distribute Krishna consciousness. So thinking in that way, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he sent some of his disciples to Germany, and then they went to England for preaching, and he was supporting them. He was sending them money to maintain their preaching. And he had also one disciple write that book, Professor Sanyal, he wrote one important book. It was meant for introducing Krishna consciousness to the Western world, the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was really, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he wanted so much to see Krishna consciousness spread around the world. And of course this was the mood of Bhaktivinoda Thakur also. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had taught that in the future the Chinese and the Russians and the Africans and the Americans, they'll all come together to chant the holy name of Hari. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted so much to establish Krishna consciousness nicely. He wanted it all done very well. He would put on big Pandal programs. In his time, when the Gaudiya Math was flourishing, there was one Gaudiya Math. Today it's all divided. So many different Chaitanya mission, Godhara mission. There's so many different things. This Chaitanya Math is under different management from the big temple in Calcutta, which is the Bara Bazaar. And the whole thing is divided. Of course, it's not easy to keep the movement together. Even we see with our own ISKCON that there's always challenges. After the great powerful Acharya goes, then it's very difficult to keep everybody united and to keep them working together. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had actually told them, don't put any one person in charge, but you make a governing body to manage everything. But as soon as he departed from the world, somehow somebody got appointed and he got problems, spiritual problems, and then the whole thing fell apart and everybody began to argue with each other, and there were court cases and they were all fighting. This property should be mine, I should get this land, this was our temple, and like that, all arguing about bricks and cement. So Srila Prabhupada, our own Bhaktisiddhanta Swami, had seen all that, and he felt very sorry because he had so much regard for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. He told us, he said he only met his Guru Maharaj a few times, 4 or maybe 5 times. He got initiation. Well, they met first 1922, but then they were separated, didn't see again. It was 1933 before Ambai Charan was to meet the Gaudiya Math. At that time, our Ambai Charan Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada, he had moved to Allahabad and he had opened a pharmacy there, and the Gaudiya Math came to him and they said, we heard you're a pious Hindu person, we want you to help us. And then they explained, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Srila Prabhupada said, oh, I know this man, I met this man before. And he remembered how 11 years earlier he had met. So he met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and everything. Of course he met the Gaudiya Math first, and he taught him chanting, got him to chant. Then he was ready for initiation. He met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and he was initiated. First and second initiation together. That was 1933. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left the world 1936. How much association could he get with his Guru Maharaj? But he said, he is always by my side. He is always with me, leading me. So Srila Prabhupada taught us that Vani is more important than Vapu. Vapu means the physical body. Physical body is not going to last very long, very temporary. But the Vani is eternal. Just like today, we are remembering the Vani. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is preaching 1922 to Srila Prabhupada. A couple of years it will be 2022. Oh, next year's 2022. No, it's 21, right? Next year's 2020 will be 100th anniversary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. We're still remembering the meeting and the same words we're speaking. That message, that Vani is eternal. That is very, very important, very powerful. So we take a lot of inspiration from the lifestyle of our great acharyas, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is certainly a very, very powerful inspiration for all of us in preaching. We want to follow strictly as he did in the preaching, in the mission of Rupa Goswami, right? Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Vijjati. That is actual renunciation. Renunciation which is in relation to Krishna. Not this Bhogu Vairagya. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he epitomized that in his life, in his preaching, and he encouraged the devotees to go everywhere, into open centers, and to preach Krishna consciousness. And he also did they went to Vrindavan and had parikrama there. They came here in Mayapur at some point, even they got attacked, they got stoned. At one point there were people hired to kill Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. The policeman had to say that, well, we just cannot do that. He's a holy man. But he told them that these people, they want to kill you. They were actually planning to kill him because he was preaching so powerfully that this is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And who was actually qualified to be Brahman? And when they went to Vrindavan, and he brought his parikrama party into Vrindavan, all the shopkeepers closed the shops. They said, we don't want to sell anything to you people. Why? Because all these shopkeepers were brahmanas. We didn't want to sell anything to these people who were the Vaishnava brahmanas. And they closed all the shops. So much opposition. Just like we also see in our Krishna conscious movement, we get also opposition. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also had a lot of opposition. People were stoned. They threw stones on the whole their parikrama party. How much they endeavored to establish this Krishna consciousness movement. So we're so much indebted, so much grateful to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He was initiated by Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Bhaktivinoda Thakur told him, you have to get initiation. I am your seminal father. I cannot give you initiation. You have to get initiation from somebody else. But who? There's nobody. And so then Bhaktivinoda Thakur suggested, Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji, he's a good man. He was illiterate. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the most educated person, so scholarly. So he came for him for initiation. Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji said, how can I accept you? Look at me. I'm nothing. I'm illiterate. My own name I cannot write. You want me to be your guru? How can I do it? No, come on. I cannot do it. Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji had no disciples. He didn't want disciples. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati thought what to do. He came and pleaded again and again. And then Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji said, I will ask Krishna. Come back after some time. I will ask Lord Krishna. So he came back after some time. Did you ask Lord Krishna? Well, I asked him, he didn't give me a reply yet. So it went on like that for some time. Then finally Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, if I cannot get this initiation, then I'm ready to give up my life. Now, I'm going to jump off this bridge and throw myself into the Ganga to drown. So then Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji said, oh, now, okay, you're a little serious now. So eventually, he got initiation. He became the only disciple of Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji. He got the name, Sri Varshavanavi Devi Daitai, like that. A name of Srimati Radharani. So he showed us also that sometimes it's not easy to get initiation even. Just as Narottama Das, he also didn't get initiation very easy from Loknath Das Goswami. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also. And his sannyas initiation, he took sannyas here at the Chaitanya Mat. And how did he take sannyas? People say, well, he just took sannyas on his own. He sat in front of a picture of his guru. What he did actually was, he went into the altar and he closed the curtains. And the members of the Chaitanya Mat, they actually describe that his Guru Maharaj personally appeared to him and awarded him sannyas. It wasn't that he just took sannyas in front of the picture, but his Guru Maharaj actually appeared there in the Chaitanya. Some years after he departed, he appeared there in his spiritual body and gave him sannyas. And in this way, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati established the Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyas. He had researched everything, travelled extensively and studied scriptures and different sampradayas and saw how they did it and decided this was the proper way. He didn't, like we know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas in the line of Shankaracharya from Keshava Bharati. So he didn't want to take sannyas in the Sankara Sampradaya. And he didn't want to be Babaji, because Babajis don't preach. So he took sannyas from his Guru Maharaj. And his Guru Maharaj personally appeared and gave him sannyas. So then he was preaching very boldly, very strongly, and he established the Gaudiya Mat, many temples, printing many books, and initiating many devotees. He would come here, and many young children would all come around him, and he would always keep sweets in his pocket. When they would come, he'd take sweets out and give them candy. Like that, so he was very loving as well, although he was Nrsimha Guru, very powerful and forceful, powerful preacher, but he was very kind and gentle and talking to the local people and dealing with them and caring for all the children. So, these are something. Yeah? We can stop here? Yeah. Okay, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada ki! Gaur Premanande! Srila Prabhupada ki!
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for such a beautiful description of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's life and teaching. So now where Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj's Samadhi is, so behind that the Prasad hall is there. We'll take Prasad. After you honor Prasad, then you can take darshan of Radhakund, Shyamkund, Giriraj Maharaj, and hopefully they are saying that they will allow us to enter Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's room at 3 o'clock. So if we can do that, that would be great. How many of you have actually entered Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's room? Quite a few of you. Nice. So those of you have seen, you can see it again, and those of you that not able to see before, you can see now. Hopefully it will work out. Also, they're a very, very spontaneous person, devotees here. So they said, okay, 3 o'clock, hopefully we'll be able to go in there. Okay, so we proceed to Prasadam, and then we take darshan of different spots. Then we come here at 3 o'clock. Hare Krishna.